What are we paying now to service our national sovereign debt? Over a trillion. Oh, that's not a problem. Don't worry about it. What has President Trump said? I can suppress those interest rates. I can keep prices down. I can control the price of oil and natural gas. I can do all these things. No, he can't. The Fed is not even in control anymore. Prices continue to rise on the 10-year bonds, even though the Treasury Secretary and the Fed Chairman, our friend Powell, and he's a very good man, by the way, very intelligent. I don't blame everything on him by any means, but he can't fix it. He's trying to drive down interest rates, and at the same time, the interest rates on the 10-year bonds keep going up. And the bonds that are already out there, 45% of them in China alone, have all been dumped because they're worthless. They all came out when it was practically zero interest rate. And we have these bonds all over the world. The longer this goes on and we take no action to deal with it, more bonds will be sold, more bonds will be dumped, and eventually we'll be in a death spiral. You don't need to listen to me. You can pick it up and listen to what Ray Dalio has to say. You can talk to any number of people out there. Michael Faber is another one that's very good. Listen to what they have to say. We're in a very serious condition right now.
America is hurtling toward an economic disaster, and it seems no one has a clear way out. A financial collapse is looming, and the experts are sounding the alarm louder than ever. But what's really happening behind the scenes, and why are we still so unprepared? Macgregor paints a grim picture of the U.S. economy, highlighting how unsustainable national debt is pushing the country closer to a financial crisis. Despite efforts by the Federal Reserve and Treasury to control rising interest rates, the reality is that the situation is spiraling out of control, with global markets dumping U.S. bonds at an alarming rate. The inevitable result could be a disastrous economic collapse if no decisive action is taken. Now, shifting from the financial instability and dire warnings of economic collapse, let's look at how global politics is playing out on a different stage. While America struggles with its own internal conflicts, the world stage is witnessing a bizarre political game between two of its largest figures, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. The dynamics of this relationship reveal a striking contrast in strategies, one that leaves us questioning who truly has the upper hand in the grand scheme of things. So, let's break it down, because when you compare Trump's approach to Putin's, it's clear. Trump's playing checkers while Putin's playing chess. Explaining, Trump's playing checkers while Putin's playing chess. This comparison between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin highlights the stark difference in their approaches to international relations and political strategy. The phrase, Trump's playing checkers while Putin's playing chess, isn't just a catchy metaphor, it's a sharp critique of how the two leaders maneuver on the global stage. Trump, for all his rhetoric and bravado, often operates in a reactive, blunt force manner, much like a checkers player. He tends to make decisions quickly, often without considering the long-term ramifications or the wider political consequences. His approach seems to be grounded in simplistic tactics, such as striking deals or attempting to appeal to populist sentiments. Whether it's his unorthodox methods of engaging with foreign leaders, like his unexpected phone call with Putin, or his sudden policy shifts, Trump's style reflects a game of checkers, where moves are straightforward and the goal is often immediate, visible success. However, Trump's moves are sometimes erratic, not entirely thought through, and lack a cohesive strategy for the future. For instance, during his tenure, his approach to global diplomacy was often characterized by unpredictability. This was exemplified by his attempt to engage Russia, a move that surprised many and led to questions about whether this would embolden Putin on the global stage. While Trump's call to Putin was presented as an opening for potential negotiation, many experts viewed it as more of an impulsive gesture rather than part of a larger strategic vision. On the other hand, Putin operates in a much more calculated, long-term manner, akin to a chess master. His approach is deliberate, thinking several moves ahead. Putin's global strategy revolves around patience, calculation, and the ability to manipulate situations to his advantage. One of his most effective strategies has been his manipulation of the geopolitical chessboard in Eastern Europe, most notably in Ukraine. His understanding of the complexities of international power dynamics allows him to shape events with subtlety and foresight, keeping his opponents off balance while pushing forward his own interests. Putin's Russia has demonstrated this chess-like approach repeatedly. He understands the value of alliances and the manipulation of economic and military power in a way that Trump often overlooks. For example, the Russian leader's handling of the ongoing war in Ukraine, his ability to push Western powers into economic and diplomatic corners, using energy resources as leverage and fostering closer ties with nations like China, has been a textbook example of strategic chess play. While Trump's policy in the Middle East, Europe, and Russia often seemed more reactive and based on short-term goals, Putin's moves have been methodical, aiming for long-term control and influence over global power structures. Putin's manipulation of global energy markets, for instance, is one of his most effective chess pieces. By controlling gas supplies to Europe, he has the power to make countries dependent on Russia, creating a complex web of economic and political ties that many Western leaders are finding difficult to untangle. In contrast, Trump, while being a strong proponent of energy independence for the United States, did not seem to fully grasp the long-term strategic importance of energy as a tool for global dominance. The critical difference between the two leaders becomes even clearer when we analyze their respective handling of adversaries. Trump's approach to dealing with other world powers, whether it's China, North Korea, or Iran, was often characterized by blunt force and populist rhetoric. His America First policy prioritized short-term wins, such as trade deals or military posturing, without fully considering the long-term consequences of these actions. His unpredictability was at once a strength in appealing to his base, but also a weakness in establishing stable, lasting international relationships. In contrast, Putin has been methodically building influence in regions where he sees the greatest potential for power. His move to annex Crimea, his influence over the Syrian government, and his support of various political factions in Europe and the Middle East are all moves made with an eye on long-term geopolitical stability. His ability to manipulate the international community through covert actions, cyber operations, and information warfare has enabled Russia to punch well above its weight on the world stage. Moreover, Trump's focus on isolationist policies, such as pulling the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Agreement and the Iran nuclear deal, left America out of important international conversations. His handling of NATO, as well, often seemed to undermine the long-standing alliances that had kept the West united during the Cold War. While Trump was focused on positioning himself as the lone negotiator, Putin was quietly consolidating power in the background, using existing relationships with other nations to strengthen his position. Putin's foresight also extends to the way he has played the media and information warfare game. He has understood how to manipulate narratives both domestically and internationally, influencing public perception through state-controlled media outlets, social media, and covert operations. His ability to control the narrative, often through subtle means, is something Trump has struggled to replicate. While Trump has often made headlines with his bold statements and media antics, Putin has mastered the art of influencing opinion without direct confrontation. The contrast between the two leaders also extends to their respective approaches to diplomacy. Trump's diplomatic efforts were often unorthodox, sometimes undermining traditional alliances in favor of personal negotiations. His love for one-on-one meetings with foreign leaders, such as his summit with Kim Jong-un, often left traditional diplomats scratching their heads, unsure of what these engagements meant in the long term. While Trump's direct style worked in some situations, it often lacked the depth of understanding that long-term diplomatic strategy requires. Putin, on the other hand, has excelled in maintaining Russia's global influence by building relationships with other authoritarian leaders and using his control over strategic resources. He has been able to position Russia as a key player in global affairs, from his support of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to his manipulation of European energy dependence. In a way, Putin has turned the global chessboard to his advantage by positioning himself as the master of long-term strategic calculations, while Trump's style has often been a series of short-term moves that fail to address the bigger picture. The phrase, "Trump's playing checkers while Putin's playing chess," encapsulates the deep differences in their approaches to leadership. Trump's style is reactive and impulsive, while Putin's is calculated and strategic. While Trump may have won battles through his bombastic rhetoric and quick moves, Putin is playing a much longer game, positioning himself in Russia for influence over the coming decades. As the world continues to grapple with these two competing leadership styles, the true consequences of these contrasting strategies will become clearer in the years ahead. If you enjoyed this deep dive into how Trump and Putin's strategies differ on the global stage, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts with us. We'd love to hear what you think about the dynamics between these two leaders and the game of global politics they're playing. Are you seeing the same patterns, or do you think there's a bigger picture we missed? Drop your comments below. Let's keep the conversation going. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on more insightful analyses of international relations, military strategies, and world events. We've got new content coming out regularly that breaks down the latest developments in a way that makes complex topics easy to understand and engaging to discuss. We're all about sharing knowledge and encouraging informed discussions, so hit that notification bell too so you'll be the first to know when our next video drops. Thanks for watching, and as always, we appreciate your support. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you in the next one.